everyone, and welcome to the Greenwich Observatory. We're standing right now across the prime meridian. So this is the west side and this is the east side. And I chose this specific location because I was really excited because Wellington is on this latitude right here, and I have been to New Zealand, so I like it.
Jill, what do you think of the prime meridian?
I think it's super awesome. The line is really shiny. But I think it's interesting that the GPS prime meridian is like 300 yards that way, and when you put the GPS on here, it's like 0.08 degrees, and that was not what I was expecting.
I know. Okay. Yeah.
Yay!
Okay, so here we are. Prime meridian's right over there from the Greenwich Observatory. And this right here is actually another meridian marker that they used in 1750 and 1851. We kind of been noticing as we're looking around, there's a lot of different areas that they used to use as the meridian because it's an artificial, man-made thing. So,
like the two divots right there, that one and that one, they both used to be meridian lines, so there's an approximation going on here.
To learn a little bit more about the prime meridian, we're going to talk about just some of the places it used to be and how it kind of ended up in Greenwich. So in 1884, the prime meridian was defined by the transit circle, which is like this big telescope made by Sir George Bindle Airy, and this was done in 1850. And basically, Ariel made this telescope that was able to really figure out the latitude and longitude and draw out the prime meridian really well in Greenwich. And the longitude for the prime meridian obviously is 0, and the latitude that he found was 51 degrees about. It was a little bit more than that, but you know, a little bit too many numbers. The meridian was actually chosen in 1884 to be the official prime meridian in Greenwich, and this was done at a conference of like a bunch of different countries and stuff. Some of the other countries that wanted to have it in certain places, it could have been in Rio de Janeiro or France and a couple of other places like that. And basically, it was a vote of 21-1 to have it in Greenwich, and this was because about 72% of countries who were using maps and charts were already using Greenwich as the prime meridian, so it was just easier to go with the one that the charts were favoring. And basically, yeah, the prime meridian's super important. And it's been in Greenwich since 1884. But when you use a GPS, interestingly enough, if you put it on the prime meridian, as we saw when Bensky actually did it himself, the GPS will actually not show it as 0 because of the way the satellites are. I tried looking that up a bit, but it was kind of confusing. And so, yeah, prime meridian's super important.
We're really excited because soon the red ball up there is going to drop down and we get to watch it, and it's going to be like New York, the ball dropping in New York Square. Times Square. I don't know what it's right now because I'm so excited.
Oh, look at that!
Look at that!
Jill got it on her camera.
Yeah, I was so excited, I almost missed it.
That was pretty cool.
That was great.
Okay.
Okay.
So we just figured out the most awesome thing ever. So the red ball up there has all these weird little like dimples and like divots in it, and we figured out that it's shaped that way because it's made out of paper mache.
At first we thought it might have been, we found a plaque that said something about it getting blown over on a particularly windy day. We thought maybe it just rolled a lot, but now we've learned the truth.
And I think that's really silly because then what happens when it rains a lot? Do they make a new one all the time? Or is that just like super awesome, like rubberized paint paper mache? Can they not afford anything a little more sturdy? I don't know.
Lots of like crossing lines and winding gears. The second hand itself would actually jump back a little bit.
Look at that dimpled ball.
Struck a different second.
Silly British.
More accurate.
So we just learned the most awesome and like mind-blowing new news. So we already knew that the big red ball was made out of paper mache, but now we figured out that the real reason it has all the dimples and divots is because not only is it made out of paper mache, but when they were doing renovations of the Royal Observatory, it had to be taken down, and the workmen played soccer with it. Like, this historical artifact that was the only thing that would tell sailors when 1 p.m. was and give them that, like, this is what time it is, now we can know where we are. And they played soccer with it. They kicked it. They kicked it around. It's a tragedy. But now we know.
Okay, so here we are at Greenwich, and as you can see, we have the view of London and Greenwich where we are. We're going to talk about H1 through 4, which we just saw inside but are not allowed to film. H1 was really interesting. It had the same wooden cogs as like we saw at the first land clock in the Science Museum. And
It had really cool, it had like balls attached to springs to the top and the bottom so that they went like this. I don't know, and they were like attached to springs at the top and the bottom, and the balls just kind of went in and out. And it was just really cool to like see this whole like huge clock. It's like this big working.
yeah, it was actually, like Jill was saying, she thought it was going to be a lot bigger. When they described it in the book, it said it was like really heavy. I guess it's all metal, but it was actually like pretty small for the time period, I felt like.
Yeah. And the cogs were still wooden, which was cool. And then by the time we get to H3, which I think was my favorite clock, it was just really fun to watch. It had this thing that would tick every 30 seconds. The spinny thing would just go and then it would stop. And that was really fun to watch because, I don't know, I like seeing things spin.
Yeah, and then the transition from H